Hi there, this is Virginia Milner coming to you from the DeKalb County Public Library. We are once again doing another jewelry making class, and this is one of my more fun ones. We are going to make a bead cage bracelet. I like these. These are so much fun to make. They're so easy to do, and they come out just beautiful every time. So, and these bead cages are so versatile. You can use them for earrings. Matter of fact, I had these earrings on, but I made this chaos bead video earlier, so I'm wearing my chaos bead necklaces or earrings that I make. But you can use them for earrings, necklaces, bracelets, of course. We're doing the bracelet route today, but you can just make it longer and make a necklace out of it. We're not only doing that, but I'm going to show you how to make a wrapped S hook closure. Pretty neat. I showed how to do a wrapped earring wire, ear wire, in my last video. So now I'm going to show you how to do the same thing as a hook. So let's get going with this. What you're going to need for this particular project is your round nose pliers, some cutters. They can either be flush cutters or regular cutters. Either one works. They both have the same, do the same thing. And some flat nose or chain nose pliers. So let's get started. You're also going to need beads, of course. I'm using 6mm crystals. And you can use 4mm, 8mm. It's entirely up to you how much you want to, what size beads you want to use. It depends on the look you're going for. And I'm also using antique bronze 20 gauge wire. Oh, I found this online and I think it's so pretty. So I'm gonna use antique bronze. For this one I used silver, and as you can see, it's just gorgeous. So, but I wanted to do something a little bit different, so I'm using the antique bronze. And so the first thing that you're going to need with your 20 gauge wire and your ruler is to measure out for this size. Again, it depends on what size you want your beads to be. For this particular cage is approximately ½ inch when I finish. And that takes about 5 inches of wire in order to do a ½ inch cage, a cage that finishes up as ½ inch. So the first thing that I'm going to do is measure out my wire, 5 inches for each cage. So I'm just going to measure it out and cut. Another one. So I have it, same size. No measuring required. Okay, so I have my wire, and I'm going to start coiling into a spiral. So what I need to do is grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. In fact, I'm going to go down a little bit further than the tip because I don't want it to be too tiny, because I need to be able to turn up the first loop that I make and connect it with my connecting beads. So I'm going to go just a fraction of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch away from my tip, and I'm going to make a loop. So I'm just going to rotate my pliers until I have a nice loop. And then I'm going to continue around, wrapping my wire on top of itself. So now I've got it started. Got a nice start going. See that? And then I'm going to take my flat nose pliers, my square nose pliers, and I'm going to grab the side of my wire and I'm going to coil. So I'm just wrapping the wire around itself. You don't want it on top of the wire, you want it around, you want to build on it. You can kind of see. And once you get to a certain point, you can just start using your fingers if you want to, but I find it's easier to use my pliers. And I'm using the flat nose pliers. I can use these really wide ones. I can use chain nose pliers, same thing. And I can even use my round nose. It's not as easy. You can't do it from the tip because you don't have a good enough grip. You have to scoot it back all the way to the back and do it back there. But the easiest way if you're trying to coil round wire is to use square pliers because you have an opposing shape. And now there's also two ways you can do this. You can either hold the wire still and let the pliers do all the work, or you can hold the wire with the pliers and rotate it around like that. Either way works. Now what you want to do is do coils on each end. So I just do a few coils on one end and then I flip it over to the other side and make a loop. Now this coil needs to be on the opposite side, going in the opposite direction of the other one. So this one's on this side. I want this one to be going that way. So I'm going to make my loop. Again, go down about 1/8 of an inch down my pliers. Grab it at the tip of my wire. Don't want anything sticking out the back, and make the loop. Okay, so there's my loop. Just continue wrapping around itself. And grab my flat pliers, grab the side, and wrap the wire around. And just continue to spiral. You want these two to meet in the center. So I like to do just a few spirals on one side and then start the other side so that I can make sure that they're both about the same size. So I can look at that and I can look at that. This one's a little bigger, so I can keep going with this one. Oops. So yeah, this one's a little bigger, so I'm gonna just go side to side. There we go. They look like they're about the same, very close to the same. And I want them as close together as I can get. So then I just kind of keep tweaking it until they're both side by side. I'm trying to use that as a ledge. So there we have our two coils. And then I'm going to take my pliers right there in the center where that little groove is between the two, and I'm going to close them up, just flip them until they're on top of each other. Like so. Just fold it like it's a little sandwich. And I don't close it all the way because now I want to take, this is where your bead's going to go, by the way. So now I want to take my round nose pliers and just feed it. There's two ways you can do this part too. I can go in between the two spirals to the very center, this little center hole here, with my round nose pliers. And I can push that up until I start to see a cage form. If that's visible. And just poke that out and push till a cage starts to form. I'm just pushing my wires apart. I can do it that way until it starts to open, or I can go through the top with my round nose pliers and grasp the first ring, and I can pull. Until it starts to open up, and just pull the rings. And you have to be very patient with yourself and slow, because you don't want to pull it completely apart and undo all of your work. Now, one of the ways I like to do it is kind of rock back and forth. So I've got that through the top loop, and I'm just pulling it until the rings start to come apart. Then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. I can either push from the inside or I can pull from the outside. So I like to grab the first loop like so, and then I just pull until it starts to open. And yes, it's going to do that. And yes, it's annoying. Or the other way is to grab and just rock from one side to the other. Just lift it up a little bit at a time. Sort of like you're flipping off the top of a soda can, a pop can. And from Ohio, we say pop. Okay. So kind of flipping my lid a little bit. And I just do it on both sides until I see my cage starting to form. Kind of looks like a little beehive or something. And again, you need to be very patient. You don't want to pull too hard. And there is my cage. Ta-da! Neat, huh? Let's see if you can see. There we go. Okay, so now I just go to the closest to the center and I pull it back a little bit so I have an opening. Now I can feed a bead down in there. Just drop a bead in, close it back up. Oops. Come on. Drop the bead in and push the bars together. And there is my cage. There it is. Neat, huh? Let's make another one. Okay, so here's my 5 inches of wire. Scoop my wire down about 1/8 of an inch from the tip of my wire. And again, the reason I do that is because I'm going to have to be able to get that tip into the little loop. And if I do it right at the tip of the wire, there won't be enough space for me to slide my pliers into the hole. So I go down about 1/8 of an inch or so, depending on how big you want your loop to be. And I just start to rotate the pliers until I have a loop. And there's my loop. And I like to continue to wrap it around another half time so I have something good to grip. So give it another 1/2 an inch or half a wrap. So there we go. Now I can switch pliers and spiral. And I do the two-handed method. I both turn with my pliers and guide with the wire. So both hands are working. Neither one gets a break. Give it a few spirals. There's one. And then I'm going to go to the other side. And I'm going to show you something. So I'm going to go to the other side and make my loop. 1/8 of an inch, nothing sticking out the back here. Make my loop. One and a half times around or so. And start my spiral. Now, I did something very deliberately because, as I said before, you should have your spirals on opposite sides. One should be facing one way, one should be facing the other way. But if you notice, both of my spirals are facing the same way. Oh no, oh no. What do? I just grab one, grab the other one, give it a twist, and lo and behold, I have a little S. Ah, they're facing different directions. Yay! No problem. Very soft wire. This is very malleable. It's easy to fix. And then you just keep on going. When I get to this point, I can see they're both the same size. I'm just going to give it a couple of curls and then go to the other side and give that one a couple of curls. Just keep an eye out. Make sure they're matching as closely as I can get to the same size. And get them as close together as I can. Very pretty. Nice, nice, nice. And then grab one of the sides of one of my spirals right there near the center and fold it over so that it's sandwiched on top of the other one. Okay, and I'm going to leave a little opening because I want to be able to slide my bead in there. Now, another way you can do it, if you have a bead that's small enough, you can put the bead in there and then just smash it down and start the process. That starts the process of the cage popping up. But I don't do it that way. There's really not a wrong way to do it. It's just personal preference. I like to do the rock motion. Just go in and just rock it from side to side until I get it to the size that I want. There's my one half. Let's go to the other half. I'll be quiet in here, didn't it? Okay, I'm going to keep talking. Okay, so I keep on just pulling my little rings apart, one ring at a time. And that way I don't have to worry about undoing all my wonderful work. Don't want my cage, my bars to be too far apart. Just enough so that you can see what's on the inside, and it forms a very nice secure cage. And you can always adjust it later. You want them closer together, squeeze them. Want it further apart, pull them. Okay, so there's my cage. I have a bead. Drop it down in there and close my bars up. So there's that. And I'm going to close it up. And there's my cage. And again, if I want it bigger, I can just pull it apart. Like so. If I want it smaller, squeeze it together. So just make your own adjustments until the cage takes on the shape that you want. So there are my two cages for the start of my bracelet. Now I'm going to show you how to make the connector. It's a very easy wrapped bead connector. Now what I like to do is put my bead on. And then I know how much to cut off. But I want to go an inch, about an inch, give myself a good 1.25 inches from the end so I have enough to wrap. So I give myself plenty of a tail, but not enough so that I lose a lot of wire by cutting it off. So there's my tail. I bend it back at an almost 90-degree angle. And then I'm going to make a nice loop. I'm going to go down about a third of the way down my pliers and bring my tail over the top of my pliers until I have a nice loop there. So there's my loop. Continue around. And now I'm going to wrap it. So it's easier to grip. So I'm going to grip my loop on the sides. I guess it could be on the face of it. And I'm going to wrap the tail around the long end of my wire. Just twice is enough. It's already starting to work harden, so I'm going to use my pliers to get it around there the rest of the way. One more half of a wrap. And I think we're good. And see, I didn't waste hardly any wire. I have a little bit of a tip that I need to cut off, but about 1.25 inches or 1 1/8 inches is all that you need to wrap and not waste a lot of wire. That's a good 2 wrap. Two wrap length. So now I'm going to cut off the tip. Tamp down that end. So it doesn't catch on anything. Slide my bead back up. Give myself another 1.25 inches of wire for wrapping. Cut it off of the spool. Give myself my little bend, my it's about 90-degree angle. And see, that gives me a little bit of a space above my bead. And if you're using crystals, you want to be careful. You don't want to bend it right at the bead because, excuse me, it could crack your bead, and you don't want that, especially if you're using Swarovskis or something really nice. You don't want to break your beads. Don't do that. So wrap my loop over the top. I'm going to stop there because I want to show you two different ways to connect. So this way, with the closed loop, I'm going to take my bead cage, find that first loop, take that first loop, and we're going to lift it up and turn it until you have a ring on top. And now I have my little opening inside, and I can slide this in to that opening. And there's my connection. That is one way to do it. So now I have a nice connected bead. And see, that's how you can use it to make an earring. On the other side, if I leave this open, I can just, again, turn up my first ring, bend it up toward the ceiling. I can slide on the end of my link, like so, and now I can finish my wrap. Whichever way works better for you is fine. And finish my wrap. Because I have all of that going on down there, I'm going to use my pliers. Just wrap it around a couple of times. Some people find this to be a little trying because you have all of these things dangling, and it might be easier to use the other process. So that's why I wanted to show you both of them. Just wrap it around. And plus, this is harder to show on camera because it's so close. And there's so many little distractions that I'm afraid you might not be able to see what I'm doing as well. And there is my wrapped loop. Let's crimp down that end. It's not poking up. Be careful of the crystal. You don't want to break it. And there's my first connector. Nice. So I'm going to make another connector. Put the bead on. About 1.25 inches of wire. Bend it back. Make my loop. Third of the way down my pliers. Wrap my wire over top. I'm going to go ahead and close it up. Wrap it once, wrap it twice. And clip. Again, I like to give it, this straight edge is hard to push down. If it's sticking straight out, it's kind of hard to push it against the wire. So I like to give it a little bit of a curve. So push it down, give it a little curve before I clip. Clip it as close as I can get, and if you want to, you can lift it up a little bit to get underneath. Clip it off. Find something for that to fall into so it doesn't fly across the room. There we go, nice, neat, and tidy. And clamp down that end so it's resting as close to the wire as you can get. Okay, slide my bead back down. Cut off about 1.25 inches. And let's go ahead and make my other loop. Attach, yeah. Okay, and wrap it. It's easier to hold with square pliers. Wrap it around twice. Once, twice. Give it another little bend before I clip. So now it's nice and rounded instead of a pointy tip. Cut that off in my little container and push down my edge. The tip with the pliers, nice and clean. Let's turn these so that they're both going the same direction. There we go. And attach. Take my pliers, lift up this little top ring like I'm flipping a top of a can. Slide my lip down inside. There we go. Here's the end. See if I can get closer to where you can really see. Here's the end. I'm hoping that's not too. Let's see if I can turn off a light. It might be better. There's the end. Slide this down into there. Hook it on the end of the wire. And there we go. And it's down far enough in so that you don't have to worry about it sliding out, because you really have to push down in there for it to get a test for it to be attached. So there we go with that. And I have some others that I already did. Ta-da! Cheater, cheater, cheater. So I'm going to attach it. Attach it to the rest of them and see where I am as far as the size of my bracelet. Let's get that down in there. Now I turn the light off, I can't see as well. Yeah. There we go. And there we are. I think I might need one more bead on each side. Let's see. See what we've got. As far as size is concerned, yeah, I'm gonna need another bead. And maybe another one of these guys, but let's see, because I can also pull this so it's longer. So I definitely need another bead. Just enough to make it add a little bit of length. Now let's see what I've got. Yeah, one more bead, one more bead. Okay. Let's put this baby on. Give myself an inch and a quarter. Make my loop. And wrap it. One wrap. Two wraps. Let's clip it. Give myself my little curve. Clip it off. See, it still popped out. Best laid plans. I'm going to take my pliers, crunch down that end, and then my wires are a little far apart. Can't see. And I'm going to take my pliers and squeeze them together. So you can see that. So that they're nice and close. Okay, let's get my bead back up here. Cut my wire off at about an inch and a quarter. Make my little bend just above the bead. And wrap the wire around into a nice little loop. One wrap, two wraps, and finish it off with this. Make my little bend. Clip the end off. And tamp down that end. And again, be careful of your crystal. Don't want to hurt it. There we go. Nice, neat, and tidy. Let's turn up that top loop. Flip it up like a little flip top. And I like to hold on to the one next to it so it doesn't pop up too. Slide my loop down inside of my spiral. Find that end. End is really buried, which is a good thing because that way you know that it's not going to, your link's not going to slide out. And there we go. Let's see what we've got now. Yes. You think that'll do it? That's good. And now we're going to make this little guy to finish it off. I left this loop open in case I needed to add something, but I don't. So I will close it up. Wrap and wrap. And bend. And clip. And crimp it down. Nice and easy. Don't want to squeeze my baby. Okay. Nice. There we go. Very nice. Very pretty. Make sure here. Whoops. Yes. Now it's time for my clasp. So what I want for my clasp is about another 5 inches of wire. Okay. And I'm going to make a shepherd's hook on one end, grabbing the tip with my pliers, grabbing the tip of the wire, and making sure nothing's sticking out the back. It's going to fight you a little bit, but just show it who's boss. And I'm making a tiny little loop, a 3/4 inch loop, or a 3/4 turn loop, meaning I don't want to close it up all the way. I want it to close it up 3/4 of the way. So that's 3/4 closed with a little bit of an opening here. And then I'm going to take my flat pliers and I'm going to squeeze it from the top of the wire to the bottom of the wire, which is where the opening is. I'm going to squeeze it very gently until the loop is almost closed. So now I just have a little nub. And you can't make it that small with your pliers because the tip is just bigger than you want. So I'm going to go down about 3/4 of a way down my pliers, and I'm going to make a small shepherd's hook. I've got the loop hanging over one side of my pliers, then I'm going to bring the wire around the other side of my pliers until it taps the top of my loop, and there's 1/2 of my shepherd's hook. Then I'm going to grab a bead, slide it on my wire, and I'm going to make a shepherd's hook on the other side. Again, this shepherd's hook needs to be on the opposite, going in the opposite direction. So I'm going to make my loop on the same side as that shepherd's hook, 3/4 of the way again. So it's 3/4. It's on this side, 3/4, a 3/4 loop. I'm going to take my pliers, close it up, squeeze it top to bottom till I have a little nub. And now I'm going to take my pliers, slide the wire down about 3/4 of the way down my pliers. There's the bottom where the opening is right here. And slide the wire or wrap the wire around the pliers until it hits the tip of my loop. And there's my other shepherd's hook. So now I have 2 shepherd's hooks on opposite sides of my wire. I'm going to slide my bead down until I find a center point. And you can measure this if you want to measure it. I'm just eyeballing it until it's about in the center. Then I'm going to take one of my shepherd's hooks and I'm going to wrap it around. All the way around the bead one time. Full circle until it's back in the same place it started. And then I'm going to take the other one and I'm going to wrap it around the other direction. Until it's back where it started. So now I have a full wrap, and I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to wrap the one around one way, the other one around the other way. I'm just going to keep doing that until I get the clasp that I want. Just keep wrapping it around the bead, around the side of the bead. Just keep wrapping and wrapping. And there is my clasp. Neat. Nice and neat. Now, what I'm going to check and see if this is long enough. I may need another bead on here, but I just want to make sure it's big enough. And one of the reasons I love S-hooks is because it doesn't matter whether or not you're left-handed or right-handed, you can put it on either side. And what I also like about the bead that's here is that it blocks it from coming off. Kind of gives you a little buffer. And there we have it. There's our bracelet with our nice wrapped clasp. And I think it just gives it a little bit more, makes it a little more decorative looking to have something other than just a plain clasp. The S clasp is already very, very pretty. But if you add something, it just gives it a little extra, something a little extra, and it's really pretty. And I love this vintage bronze. And I think with the wrapped clasp, it just gives it, it really gives it a vintage feel. Kind of awesome. I'm in love with this. Anyway, there is our bead cage bracelet. I hope you enjoyed this. I did. I had fun. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. This is our tutorial for the day. I hope that you'll make one of these because, oh my goodness, it's so pretty. And if you want to, you can always expand that and make it into a necklace instead of just a bracelet. You can make it longer and make it into a nice necklace. So give that a thought. I mean, it's a possibility, and it would make a gorgeous necklace, I think. And with this pretty clasp on the back, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So anyway, that's our tutorial for the day. I am very pleased with this. I am going to wear it. I hope you liked it. Please let me know one way or the other if you did. If you want to see anything else specific for later, let me know, because I am open to suggestions. I have a whole roster of things that I have planned out to make, but I am not above or against changing my mind. I change it a lot. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought of this. Let me know what you think of the possibility of future classes, and we'll try to take all of that into consideration. And please show me what you make. That makes it fun for me. Okay? Okay. Until next time, enjoy the week. Bye-bye.